Hey guys, back again. This week we're going to be changing it up a little and going to be looking at something we haven't done in quite some time with one of AMT's Star Trek. It's specifically their 1/1400th Vor'Cha class battle cruiser. Let's open it on up and take a look. Now, first up, we've got a lot of the side parts as well as the main front section. Forgive me if things are moving around. They unfortunately only did one side, so we don't have a lot of protection to the parts. So something to be aware of, as there could be potential damage. Now, in terms of detail, given the scale of the kit, it's fairly simplistic. Obviously, you're not going to get super detailed levels out of this thing, mostly because of the scale, the age, and at the end of the day, it's on the cheaper end of the spectrum. However, overall, it's acceptable levels. Obviously, it's molded in a single color, so if you want to do it right, you are going to need to paint it. So, that out right front. Next up, we've got the warp nacelles, which are two-piece assemblies, which they do give you a little more interesting detail into them. But overall, it's still on the simplistic side. Obviously, if someone has access to images of the actual studio models, those would be a great resource to potentially add additional details. But for the most part, no, this kit really isn't one of those you want to get super close to as far as, up close detailing. It's more of a kit that's better a little ways off. Moving on, we next have the two main hull sections. One thing I will say is that they did use these very massive and thick pour stubs for these parts. Cleaning that up will be a bear. I've encountered it on other Revell kits, and this is the biggest complaint I have with Revell, is those things are damn near impossible to get off clean. Again, much the same. Not a lot of fine detailing, but it does capture all the overall look. Much the same on the other side. Again, that damn pour stub. Now, one nice thing the kit does come with is a quality base. Personally, one way I would say you could potentially improve this a little would be to do a resin cast of it, as obviously the resin cast would have all this as solid resin. It would be a little costly, but overall I think it would up the quality a little bit and provide a little more heft and stability to it. As even though this thing is fairly thick plastic and should keep it fairly steady, I would say going with this filled in, either recasting it or gluing in some weights and filling in with putty. Lastly, as far as sprues is concerned, are clear parts. They're a little on the thick side, but they'll manage. One thing I would say, this is definitely a candidate for doing LEDs for, so that is something else to consider. So, continuing, lastly, we do have our decal sheet, which are quite nice, sharp, bright, and good register. So they did do at least one thing right. Now let's move these back and we'll take a look at the instruction sheet next. Now, as this is a very basic kit, there's not a whole lot to the assemblage. A couple of errors I will point out. Getting these sections together might be a little challenging as they do not provide a lot of connecting area for it, so you want to take your time and make sure you get the alignment right on those. Beyond that, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of gotcha areas. One section I did find to be problematic is some of the paint callouts, as they basically give you very little detailing there, and even worse here. In fact, they don't even give you a color reference for the body color. So that is something you may have to do a little trial and error on to get the correct shade of green. Offhand, I honestly cannot say where to start on that one, but obviously there are, thankfully, more than enough references online that should hopefully be able to get you into the ballpark, or at least give you an idea of what colors you should be mixing. Beyond that, it's pretty vague in some of the detailing, but again, this is one you'd probably have to check back on references. So, overall, on the one hand, it's a fairly cheap kit, so you're not going to be in it too much. On the other hand, there's a lot of very lack of refinement to the details, I guess is probably the best way to say it. However, I would say, given the low cost and that it does provide more than ample space for doing a lighting setup, I would say this is a good kit to get for practicing doing LEDs. It's a good one to experiment with, as you're not going to be out too much. There's not a super level of quality detailing that you're going to potentially damage. So I would say this is one to just use as a learner kit. I believe I picked this up for around $12, so it's not too terrible in terms of price. And you know what? This is one I would say more than anything, just have some fun with it. Try some stuff out. Overall, it's not terrible, but it's not great. So that was a look at AMT's Star Trek 1/1400th scale Vor'Cha class battlecruiser. A okay kit in best of times, and really is more one to get if you're a diehard Star Trek fan, or you're looking for a sci-fi kit to play around with lighting setups. So, until next time.